Today is Friday, August 11th, and you're listening to the Daily AI Show live.
Woo! What's going on, everybody? What's going on?
Hey,
Happy
guys.
Friday to everybody. Good to see everybody on the call. Nice smiling faces.
TGIF.
Yep.
TGIF. Aaron, it's a little more like, how was your Friday, right? How was your Friday, Aaron?
Yeah, my Friday was pretty good. There's not much
yeah.
of it left.
As you can tell by his accent, everybody, he is from
California.
Scotland.
Northwestern Australia. I'm the token foreigner in this group.
That's right. We had to make sure we had one, and then you fit the bill, and now we feel whole. So obviously we're in a good mood today. It's Friday. It's been a hell of a week. I don't know how your guys is going, but I think we have a cool topic to talk about today, and that is a code interpreter. So I will do just a very brief overview of that for anybody that may not know what we're talking about. Code interpreter is available currently in your ChatGPT account if you've paid. It is not free. It is not available on the free side of ChatGPT. You would have to be a pro or plus member, I think it's called. It's like $20 a month. With that, you get plugins, you get things like the code interpreter, as well as occasionally other beta features, alpha even I've had at times. But today we want to talk about code interpreter. So we all sort of said, okay, I talked about this like 2 months ago and haven't really touched it again. And I feel like I want to see what you guys say, but I'm going to preface this by saying, I think I want to kind of like dog on code interpreter a little bit, but what do you guys think? You guys jump into it a little bit. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. How are you using it?
Bad start. Look, let me put it simply. If you are on ChatGPT, you're basically limited to typing into chat box and cutting and pasting into the chat box. You could add, if you're on the paid version, you can add plugins that allow you to do some more things. But code interpreter is like OpenAI's service that is designed for business people who do analytics and lots of other things. And the major distinction is that you can upload a file. You can upload a CSV file. You can upload a video. You can upload an image. And then you can ask ChatGPT code interpreter to do something with that information. That's really game-changing in my view.
And your limit for the file size is 100 megabytes, but you can upload a compressed file. Like it will uncompress, like as long as the compressed file is under that 100 megabytes, you're good.
And let's talk about really what's happening underneath the scene there. So what's happening with GPT-4 is that it actually creates Python code to execute on. So you're basically creating a mini agent, or it's creating a mini agent for you. So you ask it to do something with this document, it writes a code to make that happen, and then adjusts the code, and then whatever. And what's great about it is if you give it something a little bit dirty, it'll actually go through the process of cleaning it up for you. Now, which I'll lead to probably what Brian's getting at. It's kind of crap at dirty data. So if you have dirty data, then you're going to have a hard time. Like if you don't have column headers, if you don't have if it's not properly put together, then it's not going to work as well. And you'll sit there turning as it's trying to make it work, and you're just like wasting time. But those are the two things I think is important to know.
Hey guys, so I want to jump in straight away because out of all this group, I'm probably the one that knows the least about code interpreter. To be honest, I hadn't really used it until today. So Brian posted in the Slack group, we're going to talk about code interpreter today. And I'm going, oh, hell, I'll have to go and Google this. So I've had it there for a while because I got a Plus account. But anyway, I went in, watched a couple of videos on YouTube, had a little bit of a play with it. And like, wow, I actually can see we could do a lot of really cool stuff, whether it's business related or personal and fun related or science related. The ability to upload data and to analyze it, I think it could be a game changer. And as they improve the capability of this product, I think there's going to be some really cool options there. So like I didn't have a big data file to do any tests with, so I just found I had an Excel file on my hard drive, which was just a list of prospective clients. There's like 6,000 names. It's 3 columns: mobile number, first name, last name. I went, okay, let's just upload it and see what happens. And I said, what do you think this file's about? And it came back and said, it appears it's got a column that says mobile, first name, last name. It appears to be a list of names and numbers. Yep, great. What can you tell me about it? Not much. Can you tell me what the most common first name for male and females are? And it said to me, I'm not sure whether some of these names might be male that are female and vice versa, but I've got a list of people's names and I can kind of do some guesses. And it went off and did some calculations, came back to me and said, okay, the most common male name is John. Big surprise there. The most common female name is Karen. Possibly a big surprise there. I thought, okay, that's pretty simplistic, but it's an interesting sort of insight into the possibilities. Once, like I could see myself pulling ad data out of Facebook or Google Ads or something, putting it into that and asking it to do some analysis. And I've seen examples of people creating charts and diagrams. I've seen examples of it, writing code like Python code to make games and all sorts of stuff. So admittedly, given my very initial limited perspective on the product, I'm actually pretty excited about using it a lot more. So I encourage everyone to play with it. If you've already got a Plus account, it's there. Just turn it on and have a play. So that's me done on it.
I'm in the same boat as Aaron. I didn't get Code Interpreter, even though I had the Plus account, until when they released it for everyone. And funny enough, yesterday after the yesterday's show, I got an email back from OpenAI support saying, "Hey, sorry it took so long to get back to you, but now you can access Code Interpreter."
They're watching the show, exactly.
They watched the Daily AI show. We have confirmation. OpenAI is a fan. You guys heard it here first. They are a fan of the Daily AI show. I love it.
Fake news.
Now, I did get to use a little bit earlier, and my experience wasn't so much on the data side; it was on the programming side. Because I was looking for a solution for the Daily AI show to handle a lot of, all of our recorded video and moving it around into different storages and things like that. And we're using StreamYard, and we don't currently have like an API access. StreamYard API access. So I asked Code Interpreter to help me devise an automated solution for that when those components don't exist, because there's no integration for Zapier or Make or anything like that. And it came up with a novel way with a little bit of coaxing to solve each step. And then it wrote me the Python script to do it. And I was like, all right, I don't have a chance to do this right now, but this looks very promising. So yeah, I'm in the same boat. From my initial experimentation, I'm really excited to start using it more heavily.
All right, so this is where I'm curious. All right, I feel like maybe Robert, I have you out of the six of us. We'll have to see. Everybody else sounds really excited. Let's see. Okay, so I got access about 2 months ago. I look back and I put out a post on LinkedIn, and if you go look at the post on LinkedIn, I'm like, dude, this is a game changer. Because the first thing I did was take the zipped file, like Beth was talking about, of anybody on LinkedIn, by the way, can go and get their data, right? You can do a backup of your data, and you can do it's a big zip file that has about 20 different CSVs in it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, input. And I just sent it into Code Interpreter, and I was like, do something with this. In the next 20 minutes of the first time I used Code Interpreter, I had done sentiment analysis on all my comments. I looked at all sorts of data from different sides. I did a scatter plot that showed, the scatter plot showed sentiment analysis of it. I was able to deep dive into different contexts and leads and stuff like that came out of that data. And it did that all from a zip file. That part was cool. Beyond that, I started doing other things. Like I took the data and I created animated GIFs with them. So I was able to show, I sent my CEO one time for stuff we did for the company, and I showed an animated line chart plotted out over time. All it was 20 different individual snapshots zooming out on a particular set of data, but compress those together, throw into a GIF, and of course the line grows as it is. So hey, this is pretty cool. I've used it to resize images. I've used it to look into 600-page documents. I've gone into Kaggle.com, which you can get amazing data sets if you just want to ever just screw around. Go to Kaggle. I think you might have to have an account, but it's free. And there are
Brian, can you spell that?
Kaggle. LE, and I'm going to make sure I'm right on that.
Okay,
That's
cool. Yeah, I must admit, I did think, oh, can I just download a huge data file somewhere and have a play with it? So if you've got something there, that'd be pretty cool.
So Brian, it seems like you just really did a deep dive in Code Interpreter. And where's the angle that makes you skeptical about its utility at this point?
Because you saw there's a person behind the curtain. He sees that. He now knows that it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Here's my thing. Okay. And by the way, between yesterday and today, the new thing I did was I scrubbed it a bit, but I used I've kept a line item budget for my family since 2019. And so I can tell you everything, every piece of money that's come in and gone out of my family for business or otherwise since 2019. Well, that's in a data set. And so I scrubbed it and, made it sure that it wasn't, to me, because you have to be careful about that. And I threw that in yesterday and I was like, tell me something I don't know. And basically it was like, yeah, your food prices are going up. I was like, yep, I see that.
Too much
and it was
booze.
It's like, yeah, you spent too much eating out in July. I was like, yeah, that's fair. We went on some vacations and stuff like that. So that was pretty great and all that. But here's where I say, answer your question, Andy. Okay. I'm going to go through a list. In fact, I'm going to share my screen on this. Because this is a document or a blog that I saw, and I want to give credits from the decoder.com, but it's more just because I want to just share some of the use cases here.
Sorry.
1 sec.
I think that raises an interesting point. The more different uses that I think people can come up with for this kind of product, the more powerful and flexible it can be. Because a lot of people might look at this and just go, this is for the marketing geeks or this is for the number crunching geeks, but there could be stuff that could apply to anyone here.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just look through some of these that this particular author wrote. And again, this was from the Decoder, the-decoder.com. Visualizing data, we kind of talked about that. Cleaning data, I think Robert, you sort of mentioned that, like it's not great at it. Analyzing Bitcoin rates, okay, great. Analyzing your own musical taste, sure. If you throw a big data set into it, it will help you look into that data set. Kind of what you were saying, Jimmy, it can help with the HTML page and more of the coding and the Python stuff. GIFs, talked about that. Simple video editing, okay, convert this GIF into an MP4, great. Color palette, this one actually is pretty cool. I haven't tested this one, but I actually like this idea that you could upload an image and ask it to decode the colors. I run into that a lot with creating images and not knowing exactly which color is which, but to be honest with you, there's a plugin right here that does the exact same thing. And that's kind of what I wanted to say. Now maybe Jimmy or Aaron, you said it first, but Jimmy too, maybe this is just we bring this back to this is the worst it'll ever be. And we go, that's a theme almost with this show, right? Hey, we're talking about AI. Whatever we're talking about, it's the worst it'll ever be. It'll be better tomorrow. Almost guaranteed it'll be better tomorrow. Text to image, text to video, text to full length Pixar video, movies. It's the worst it'll ever be. So maybe that's the case. But I got to tell you, every single thing that I can do in Code Interpreter, I can almost do faster somewhere else and be almost more assured that the answer is going to be more accurate. For instance, I can take that exact same data set of my budget. I can throw it into a Google Sheet, overlay it with a free tool from ThoughtSpot, which is a data analytics company. That's what they do, is they build visualizations. And I'm going to get a better result than I can in Code Interpreter. So is this just the case of, and by the way, here, in case you want to see it, this is what I built in Code Interpreter. See, this is what I built this morning. So this is all about budget. So you can see it built some graphs here. This is eating out versus grocery food expense year over year, right? Things like that. I'm not saying it's not helpful.
Stop eating.
I'm not saying it's not helpful. I'm just saying.
I would disagree that you could do it faster. I think that's the beauty. The only thing I would disagree on is that part, because I think what Code Interpreter is designed to do is to take a person who doesn't do this for a living and give them an opportunity to do it on something they have a question about. Like, let's just jump in here and use this real quick. And I need to know this for a presentation I'm doing in 20 minutes, jump in there, throw the data set in there, give me some things, talking points, blah, blah, blah. But true data analytics people, they laugh at that. They laugh at the use case, but that's what GPT has done, hasn't it? It's taking everybody who's been in their channel of work and their silo and giving them the opportunity to branch out and make them super employees, give them the ability to do things that are outside their skill set, like writing blogs. I don't write blogs. And so you can do that with ChatGPT. Now you have Code Interpreter that says, you're not an analytics person, but you know what? If you need stuff for a presentation or for your business or for your home, and you're trying to argue with your wife or your spouse about, I want to spend money on a motorcycle. I'm not talking about a real use case that does not happen at all in my house, but you need to show some kind of way that we have the money, we can afford it, then that'd be kind of fun. But anyway, my point is that I agree with you, Brian, that it's kind of, I want to say one trick pony, because it's not one trick, but it's very much, it's an isolated case that is exciting to talk about. And I just did the same thing 2 months ago. I posted game changer, and I got to stop using that term, because it's actually it's everything every week is a game changer, because it is.
Exactly.
Okay, it's evolutionary. Yeah. It's evolutionary.
Yeah.
I want to talk from the perspective of those who are in business and who have been a part of the migration from needing data scientists and data analysts to the point where really sophisticated tools like business intelligence systems take the corporation's data, put it in a single repository, and then allow business users, with some SQL, query skill to actually create visualizations and presentations and actually provide good decision support to the rest of the team. Now, I have experience with that specifically because in 2015 at LifeAid, where I was the chief operating officer, because I'm here in Santa Cruz and a colleague of mine invented it, I started using a product called Looker. Google ultimately bought it, and Looker is a major business intelligence system. It's a multi-billion-dollar company now.
Yep.
And what it does is it makes it possible to create visualizations that allow you to present what's happening in your data to the rest of the team. Code Interpreter is making that available to anybody in the company with natural language queries, right? I can just ask Code Interpreter to do that. I upload the data and it'll do it. Now, eventually, there'll be that kind of conversational interface for Looker, right? And that's really going to...
There is, I would say, to some extent, it already does exist.
Yeah.
I think the bottom line with this is, and I don't know if this is the correct use of the word, so if it's not, I apologize, but I think what it's going to do is democratize a lot of really technical skill sets and analysis and all that stuff to make it available for everybody to be able to do a lot more in all sorts of different areas. And I think we haven't even scratched the surface of what it will be able to do in another 6 or 12 months. I mean, just look at Midjourney, for example. When I first started using it, I don't know, 6 months ago to where it is now, I mean, there's streets ahead. So this kind of product is going to become so powerful that everybody will start to be able to do a lot more stuff with a lot less time, money, and resources, where before they might have had to spend big bucks hiring analysts or buying expensive software. So I think, as you say, Brian, I think this is the beginning. This is the worst it'll ever be, but I think in 6 or 12 months, this thing is just going to blow everyone's mind if it hasn't already started to do it.
I also just want to surface like what's happening. That there's a gap that we're not really talking about, right? You can natural language ask for something that exists, right? So give me a scatter plot, give me a whatever. You can also go in, like one of the examples that somebody said, and say, what you got, right? Like I have data. What should I ask you for?
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So it will hold your hand.
And that's to Robert's point, which is it's an agent. It'll go and write code to produce what it is that you asked for, and it'll use that code to do an array of things, not just analyze data. It can do a lot more than that. I know recently I've been working on a product development for the purposes of that, communicating what the transaction flow is. I wanted to create a transaction flow diagram of what the user experience is. So I did that with Show Me inside ChatGPT. Well, Show Me does this really rudimentary thing. It's quite nice, but I mean, it's very, very simple. I'm going to, after this session today, I'm going to do the same thing now in Code Interpreter. I'll be amazed if it doesn't blow away what Show Me could do in ChatGPT, because it's going to write Python code to go and do this visualization, and it's going to do data. It's going to do analysis of what my description of the user experience is, and then create a transaction flow diagram.
We definitely gonna have to bring that back to the team and report back once you do that, and share what you can. Obviously, you're working on stuff. I'm sure not all of it's public, but so I think, Robert, you brought up something that made me think there is probably one good distinction here, and I want to be aware of that. Code Interpreter was deployed inside ChatGPT, not GPT, not OpenAI, not the playground. It was deployed in ChatGPT, right. Which I do agree with what you guys are saying in terms of like, who's the user here? And if it's the general user, if ChatGPT is the tool for the general user, not the specialist, is it helpful? Yeah, I think I can see your point, Andy. You're absolutely right when it comes to executives and stuff. The biggest thing, I used to work for a business intelligence company that did consulting on that. So we worked with tools like Looker, Click, ThoughtSpot was a big one as well. And the biggest pain point you would see is that your companies would present this thing and they'd walk in the door with Andy in the boardroom and they'd be like, somebody was sweating, right? The data scientist was sweating it out. You got the person who put the deck together. They get to the first slide on the first set of data. And then Andy, the CIO, goes, yeah, but what if that one goes to the left? Screwed, immediately screwed. Rest of the deck is out the door. Andy had a follow-up question that nobody could do anything about. And tools like ThoughtSpot, what they did is they created drill down live views into data so that you could go to the COO and say, no problem. Let's click and drill down into that one particular category. And then we can get into that and go into that data, which is where I probably see the value of this. Or is it that COOs now don't have to talk to their team and can go use Code Interpreter and dig into their own data and get more prepped to ambush their team when they're sweating it out in the boardroom? Because I see that coming too. So is it dangerous or is it helpful right now?
Well, it's always a nightmare when somebody asks for a drill down in a board meeting. I mean, that's a scramble. So you don't really ever want that to happen. But I think that this is, let me put it this way. The team of people that worked in systems analysis and in, sales data analysis and support to the sales team within LifeAid, those guys, they should be using Code Interpreter. I've been nudging them to do it because it's just going to make their time and effort, whether with Looker or with spreadsheets in Excel, it's going to make their lives 1,000 times easier.
So I want to ask you, now that you're using it, who's going to use it like weekly for the next month? Because I'll be honest with you, I haven't even played with it. I got so excited 2 months ago. I haven't gone back in, but like
here's a question I have: does Code Interpreter on top of ChatGPT do everything that ChatGPT can do? And
exactly.
Why don't you just use Code Interpreter and then it just opens up a bigger window of possibilities for what you can ask for?
Here's my big question. What's the moat on this product and honestly, the bigger product? So a year from now, is this still going to be the same? Does OpenAI have a moat with ChatGPT? Because what's going to happen is these products are going to be replicated by more specific use cases, as Brian indicated. So I feel like there's going to be products that do this better using the technology behind it, using OpenAI APIs, and they're going to develop it. Now, right now, you can't do a Code Interpreter, whatever, function call an API. You can't say, go do this for me in the playground. There's only inside, like Brian said, inside the chat interface. So that begs the question, is this fun, kind of neat, but not going to last because of what I just mentioned? Does anybody have an opinion on that?
Sure. So Salesforce, that is sort of Salesforce's vision, right? Salesforce is going to come out. It already has natural language ask about data. but you're going to be able to ask natural language for the kinds of things that I just said, right? Like, okay, so this is the data set. First of all, pull this data set. I want everybody in Alabama who's bought something in the last 5 years. And then let's analyze that. What are some similar characteristics? And not necessarily need to say, please do an analysis on the first contact to the time of purchase, right? You can say that, but it's also going, I think, to be able to hold your hand in that context.
Yeah, I think that's the most SaaS products. They're, like you just said, Salesforce, they're going to create their own, so we're going to maintain our allegiance to those products because we're already embedded with them and we don't have to go outside to get the answers we need. So Salesforce, HubSpot, all those major CRM platforms are going to develop their own version of this. So it's all embedded and using their own. It's brilliant. I mean, it's really a good use case. So going outside to play around with it for the meeting you have in 20 minutes, I can see how that's fun, but I don't think it's long lasting. That's just me.
Yeah, Salesforce doesn't let you do a GIF either. You're not going to make an animated GIF in the Salesforce.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I can see this as I do think it's not going to be the exclusive purvey of big corporate and government departments to use the technology. I think I kind of get a sense that ChatGPT or OpenAI is trying to make, I think Brian, you might have said this, but trying to make ChatGPT the AI for everyone kind of thing. And by building this sort of stuff in, what it's going to do, that whole idea of building a moat around the product to stop it being beaten by something else is put more high-powered functionality in there. And I think as people start to use it, they're going to start getting a lot more value out of it. I suspect you'll start to see these guys build in pre-built recipes, for want of a better one. If you want to do X, click this one. At the moment, we've got to kind of think out the process, type commands in, etc. I'll give an example. This is before Code Interpreter. I was creating some HTML code for a web page. This was a couple of months ago, and something was wrong, and I couldn't figure it out. And I'm by no means a great HTML coder by any stretch of the imagination. But I literally just copied the source code, dropped it into ChatGPT and said, what's wrong with this? And it told me how to fix it, change the code. It was 1 or 2 lines, easy. So I think as we start to get more sophisticated with all the different stuff this can do, I think it's going to become very powerful. From a marketing perspective, being able to pull thousands of customer data and stick that in there and look for things that we don't get to see. That's kind of what Google and Facebook do with their ad platforms at the moment, is try and look for the commonalities that tie together the people that buy. But if we can start manually analyzing the data ourselves and figuring out more things that Google and Facebook don't tell us, that could give us anyone using ad platforms, that could give us a really good competitive advantage. So I'm really interested to see where this is going to go.
And I will say, so I got a couple of questions, and this is for everybody who's got some experience with it. Andy, you brought up the real good question: is why don't you just use Code Interpreter instead of ChatGPT or this default model? Are there any clearly defined guardrails, file types, what it can do with files, and all of those kinds of things that that distinguish it between the two? Or are there guardrails on what limitations it might have? What can someone use right now, or how would it apply to their daily use?
Well, none that I know of. GPT-4 is the foundation of Code Interpreter. It uses GPT-4, and that's arguably the most sophisticated architecture for large language models. Apparently, it's made up of multiple. I think I've read that there are 8 different large language models ganged together in order to create what GPT-4 is. Well, so, giving you file upload capability there rather than cut and paste code capability is just, widening the range. And the Python agent inside the Code Interpreter thing just makes it useful. And I hope, to Robert's point, that there will be an API that says, okay, now you have access to Code Interpreter, or maybe it just gets to be a part of GPT-4 or 5, I should say. Like,
it may just
question for you, Andy.
You're right.
when we upload data, correct me if I'm wrong, if we upload info into Code Interpreter, is that now part of GPT-4's, I guess, knowledge base? Like, if someone's worried about the security of data, I assume they're not going to use a tool like this in certain circumstances, or is there a way to protect it, for want of a better way to put it?
100%. It will be in what you need to be. If you're worried about that, then you need to go into your settings. And I think, this bounces back and forth, but you have to be a paid subscriber, and you have to something else in order to keep your data from being indexed or the model trained on it. So
right.
And currently, Code Interpreter is not available if you turn the trained data off.
Okay,
is that
there
right?
you go.
If you turn it off, it becomes unavailable. Yeah, so there's sort of your answer right there. I know, look, we're on time here, and look, this is a conversation I think we can and should come back to several times, because it's going to evolve to all our points, and it's going to become more important, more valuable. I will say this: I know I've been kind of dogging on it a little bit. This was cool, and this last thing, I won't even share my screen on it, just because about what Andy and Robert were saying. Underneath the data I had for my own budget that I was talking about earlier, I just wrote for fun, if I was the CEO of a fitness brand, what questions might I ask of the data? And it was really interesting to see it come back. And it said, like, hey, if your eating out costs are high, you may look to partner with healthier food option and fast food places. And so it gave me product development, Andy, seasonal trends, customer retention and loyalty, partnerships. So I have to say this: if I was a junior person, or if I was prepping for a meeting and I wanted to make sure I hit the highlights for the COO that I was going to be walking into a meeting with tomorrow, I could definitely see, I will say, I'll tip my cap to this one. This is pretty cool because it allows me to get into Andy's mind before I walk into the door and make sure that I have the answers that he's going to be asking before I get there.
That's the point. Cool. And I'll just end it on this note. This is exactly the point of why this is important for organizations, why the ability for you as a leader of an organization to get your employees using ChatGPT and using Code Interpreter, because it can only benefit your organization. It can only increase your efficiency and profitability, because each one of those employees are going to increase their ability to perform. They're going to be super employees. So you just got a great example. We're constantly seeing examples of how you can do marketing and blogs and writing and ideation with GPT-4. But now you're able to be more critical thinking and analyzation of whatever your specific role is. And so that provides you more value as an employee to leadership. So takeaway.
Love it. Love it. We'll end
Before
it
you go, guys, just a quick shout out to Luke Westwood on the comments. Thanks for your comment, Luke.
Yes.
Thanks,
Luke.
Luke.
Right here. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate you coming in and joining us. We're growing day in and day out. This is the Daily AI Show. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on LinkedIn Live. You can find us in Spotify. We're growing by the day. We love when people are coming out. We will be back next week for 5 more shows, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Can't wait to see you. Come join us. Come hang out with us. Bring the questions, and we will do our best to bring you our thoughts on all of these emerging AI topics. With that, we'll throw on the splash screen, and we will say goodbye for the weekend. Bye, everybody.
Live long and prosper, folks.